So if you want to build anything that's lasting, the foundations are incredibly important. The more solid the foundations are, the more you have a basis for real growth, real development that's going to be lasting. The truth is like this. If you base your ideas on what is truthful and what is factual about the nature of life, your ideas are likely to have far greater longevity. And so it is that when we're discussing what's happening in this pandemic, it's very important for us to address things based on the truths that we know. Unfortunately, the truth is often very unattractive because it may not taste like the sugar we would like it to taste like. It could be quite bitter. And as a result, often people just loathe the truth. And their attitude to the truth is that they'll shut their eyes tight and screw them up even tighter. I guess hoping that by the time they open their eyes, the truth will have vanished. Well, actually, the truth will have got even larger. Why? Because we allowed it to gestate. So this is episode 3 of my pandemic musings. And I'm asking, do we all have a death wish? Because that may be the answer to that question will determine often what we do. The names that I've come up with, the names that I've heard about the global elites, some call them the Illuminati, some call them the global elites, some call them the globalists, some call them the Bilderbergers, there are 1,000 names for the people who we all know. But recently I've started thinking of them along the lines almost of a criminal enterprise. Now, a criminal enterprise, a racket, has 2 key characteristics that define it from a legitimate enterprise. A criminal enterprise doesn't pay taxes. 1. 2. A criminal enterprise doesn't follow the rules. Or, put another way, a criminal enterprise can change the rules to suit its behavior. So for this reason, criminal enterprises will always grow at a geometric rate, while legit earthbound businesses will grow at a more kind of arithmetic, more gentle rate. And so power and money and resources will always devolve to the racketeer. History has proven this 1,000 times. And it seems to me that one of the most beautiful tricks, one of the greatest manipulations the elites have managed over centuries of history is to ramp up the differences in behavior by programming of people of European origin and people, say, of African origin. I say of African origin because I know them very well. This could be people of Asiatic and other origins as well. We, as a human community, have been taught that we're all different. Some of us are worth more, some of us are worth less. And the different constituencies have actually, through hundreds of years of acculturated programming, each person has been taught to buy into the chimera, the falsehood of whatever their ethno-racial stereotype is supposed to be. So, for example, people of European origin have been taught to live in denial of racial discrimination. First reaction is, oh, really? No, it can't be happening, and so on and so forth. The underlying statement being, look, because I'm not racist, other people can't be racist. That's just like saying that because I'm not a bank robber, bank robbers don't exist. Or because I'm not a criminal, criminals don't exist. Clearly false. The next thing is, when other people do talk about race, the conversation is so curated that actually the net result is silence. When I post something with racial content, and a lot of my stuff has got a discussion about the impacts of race and how divisive it is in society, most white folk, people of European origin, are silent, absolutely mute. It's as if it's like breaking wind at a party, really. You don't expect people to opine and comment on it. They just run away, leave the space. Thirdly, people of European origin have become acculturated and been trained to have the view that, well, it's out of my hands. Now, this one I kind of understand, because actually, most human beings are decent people. Every culture, every ethnic origin, most human beings are nailed on decent folk. And so when people say that, well, look, all of this kind of differential valuation of ethnic groups and so on is out of my hands, to a degree, they're correct. And that's because it's all been institutionalized. So actually, they don't have to be personally kind of excruciatingly and in your face KKK style racist. The system, the society will be racist on their behalf, which gives them the opportunity to say, oh, but I didn't do that. I'm not like that. That might be happening elsewhere, but I'm not like that. Well, two problems with that. If you're not like that, you're the principal beneficiary of society setting things up to gain differential results such that people of European origin wind up with privileges that people of non-European origin don't have. You're the main beneficiary. Secondly, our society is nothing more than the sum total of our attitudes, our beliefs, and our behaviors. So the society in which we live, the culture in which we live, and I think this is so for everywhere you go in the world, it's a bit like the shadow to your body. It reflects the behaviors you are acculturated to taking. Because if you didn't like it, you would change it very, very quickly. Now, but this programming doesn't just exist for people of European origin. Again, people of African origin have also been programmed over 400-500 years of their association with people of European origin. Generally speaking, again, because of control of the outlets of media, public information, and so on, people of African origin don't tell you what they think. If they want to tell you what they think, it's muted or undermined or kind of somehow made less worthy. Now, if you treat a person like that, say, this is very simple programming. If a child is raised not to be able to speak up, they grow up with a certain attitude to the authority that's keeping them mute, and they grow up with an attitude towards the worth of what's inside their own heads. And so it's not that people of African origin don't have thoughts and don't have feelings about the differentials that exist both in national and international relations. But whenever they've spoken up, the consequences have been dire. Either at the very best, they've not been acknowledged, or at the very worst, they've been undermined and somehow kind of demeaned or diminished, and so on. So actually, there's no positive motivation for speaking one's mind. Whereas in the European culture, people say, wow, that's an independent, free-thinking individual and so on, and society pays it off. So that the result of learning, this kind of learning, is that I think the people of African origin don't speak up in public enough. Of course, privately, we speak to each other all the time. But the wider society, especially in Europe, that we live in, hasn't got a clue who we are, what we think, what we feel, and so on. And those people of African origin who are given the extraordinary privilege of success in the mainstream are groomed only ever to say that which will not embarrass their paymasters. You see this with people in the media, you see this with people in big corporations and so on. In fact, sometimes they become even more extreme than the rather more liberal people of European origin that they're working with. So this is a terrible thing which only benefits the racketeers. What it means is that an important part of the world is completely out of sync with another important part of the world. And so disunited, one end can be played against the other. At the very best, you'll get a lot of people of European origin making gestures like savior gestures to alleviate people's poverty, to support, kind of the poor women of Afghanistan who were being abused, who are likely to be abused by the Taliban, and so on and so forth. But these people did not stop their countries going in there and smashing up Afghanistan. So there we are. Somebody will say that, well, yeah, Ted, it's easy for you to say. And I'm very conscious that going forward with these posts, the first thing is to be inspirational, because we're all under the cosh with a lot of pressures at the moment anyway. The second thing is to be as creative as possible. And the third thing is to be as reconstructive as one can be. But none of that is possible without first grasping the nettle of the truth. And it's this truth that I'm saying. So people will say, well, look, if after 400 years we've all been acculturated to behaving in totally divergent ways, how do you expect us to come together? And I would say this: you're asking the wrong question. The question you should ask is, do we all have a death wish? Now, the answer to that question will answer the question of, can we work together? If we do have a collective death wish, then yeah, let's maintain these stupid racial privileges. Let's maintain these petty racial hatreds. Let's maintain this stupid idea of supremacism of one kind or one group over another. In this case, I'm talking about race. It could be gender. It could be any other differentiator, including religion and other things. But the question is that if we can't learn to respect other people and their humanity, we're going to die. We are going to be taken over and enslaved, every single one of us. It is that question you need to answer. Do you really want that to happen? Thanks very much for watching.